Thank you, sir. I would like to call upon Dr. Dipankar Roy, sir, and I would like to request Naik sir to please escort Roy sir to the dais and felicitate him. A few words about Dr. Dipankar Roy, sir. Dr. Dipankar, sir, is an associate professor with NIBM. He has done his MTech, PhD in digital payments. His specializations are digital banking, blockchain technology, artificial intelligence, cyber security. He has been working with NIBM for past 20 years. He has been conducting various lectures, training sessions for all these years. We are happy to have him with us today. Token of love from Tandem and a special book written by Mohan Kininge.
Thank you organizers for inviting me for this session on digital currency, the next revolution. So before I begin, so there is a big event going on in Bangalore where the finance ministers of 20 leading economies, even the head of their central banks, they are meeting in Bangalore. And the issue that they are deliberating upon is whether cryptocurrencies needs to be banned, not only in India, across the world, or whether cryptocurrencies, what value does cryptocurrencies give to an economy, and why so many people in the world are using cryptocurrencies for, making payments. These currencies are being used for trading, like how you trade shares, right? So there is a lot of there's a huge growth of these sort of transactions which is happening across the world. And these cryptocurrencies, for example, you might have heard about Bitcoin or Ethereum, right? So these are what I'm talking about. And governments and central banks across the world are very concerned about these currencies. There are multiple reasons. First of all, they are not governed by the central banks, and the price of these coins, these are not determined by the regulators of respective countries. The prices of these coins are highly volatile. If I may ask, what is the price of one Bitcoin? Anybody has any answer? No. Can you convert into Indian rupees? Yeah, you are near to it. It's around 15 or 16 lakhs. But 2 to 3 years back, the price of one Bitcoin was around 40 lakhs rupees. Right? Those who have invested during that time, it's a huge decline in the price. So who determines the price of these bitcoins, of these cryptocurrencies? Is any government or central banks of any country determining the prices of these coins? Nobody controls. The central banks do not control. So the price of these cryptocurrencies are determined by the demand and supply kind of trends. right? So that is currently, as I said, there is a huge debate going on whether these cryptocurrencies can be treated as legal tender. Can you use a Bitcoin to buy goods and services in India? No, it is banned by the Reserve Bank of India. It is not considered to be a legal tender, but there are certain countries like Bahamas, right, and some small countries where these cryptocurrencies are treated as legal tender. So as you are today paying through UPI, right? I'm sure you are all using UPI. You're paying through UPI. So how, if I may ask, how is UPI different from Bitcoin?
It is regulated.
UPI is regulated. Okay. Anything else? It is your money in bank account which is getting debited whenever you are making payments through UPI, right? So how is Bitcoin different from UPI? It is? It is not linked with a bank account. Okay, good. Sorry?
It is not deposited in your bank.
It is not deposited in your bank. This is a kind of a payment system which is, of course, you have to buy Bitcoins, right? By debiting your bank account. Like you have an UPI app. So you will also have a Bitcoin kind of an app where you can debit your bank account and convert it into Bitcoins, right? And you have Bitcoins in a wallet in the form of a mobile app. Okay. But after that, it's an app which sits on your mobile phone and you are known by a username and password, right? So to get access to a Bitcoin, you do not require any KYC verification to be done. So now when you go to a bank for opening a bank account, the bank asks for KYC, your address proof and ID proof, but to own a Bitcoin, you don't require any KYC. It's not mandatory, right? So it's totally anonymous kind of a system. Who is paying to whom and for what reason? It's totally unknown. So that is one more reason why central banks across the world are not very comfortable with Bitcoins. And moreover, they have no control over the price of these coins. Today, you are all using cash currency in the wallets, in your purses. So who is issuing these currencies? RBI, central bank, right? So it is recognized in India. You can go to a shop and buy and pay through your currency, but Bitcoins are not allowed. Why? Because these currencies have not been generated by the central bank. These are generated by whom? By private players like this crypto companies like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and so on, right? So it's a computer algorithm, software. These coins are getting minted, or new coins are getting generated through a process called as mining. Some anonymous miners across the world, they create these coins. Okay, so these coins are not kind of governed by any central bank. So that is one more reason. So these are banned. They are not accepted as a legal tender in many countries, including India. But now what is happening is we are moving to something which is called as central bank digital currency, right? Digital rupee, e-rupee. In December 2022, the Reserve Bank of India has launched digital rupee. So can anyone of you tell me what is digital rupee? How it is different from your Bitcoin or your UPI?
It is authenticated by central bank.
It is recognized by central bank, right? Very good. What else? How do you get a digital rupee in your mobile wallet? In your
Various denominations.
By debiting your account.
By debiting your bank account, good, possible. Can you exchange cash?
Yes.
And get digital rupee in your bank, in your wallet? That is also possible.
No physical cash will be there, sir.
No, physical cash, the issue is, what is the cash to GDP ratio in India? Highest, 12%. Right, whereas in advanced countries, the cash to GDP ratio is around 2%, 3%. There's a huge cost of cash, right? Because you're all bankers, you know how the cash is generated. After it is getting printed in the RBI currency presses, it goes to the currency chest of the banks. From there it goes to the ATMs and the bank branches from where you get the cash, right? Again the soiled notes again goes back and new notes are being, so it's a huge cost, huge cost of security. You might have seen those ATM, those cash in transit companies, security guards. They travel along with these kind of trucks or these vehicles which transport cash. A huge cost. So countries across the world are trying to reduce cash, physical cash, and convert them into digital cash, which is called as CBDC, Central Bank Digital Currency. So RBI has already launched CBDC in India, and there are various pilot programs going on. So what I'm trying to do today is in the next 1 hour I'll try to speak more about cryptocurrency and see what these cryptocurrencies are, and then we'll compare these cryptocurrencies with CBDCs, the central bank digital currencies, which the central banks across the world are kind of bringing in. And then we'll also try to compare the CBDCs with the UPI, right? So we'll exactly know what is going on, and then we'll also see what are the use cases, what are the applications of these CBDCs in different countries. So UPI, you are all users of UPI. So in spite of UPI being there for the last now 7-8 odd years, right? But there is still a lot of people in these countries who are not able to use UPI, right? Because one of the main challenges of UPI is what? You should have a smartphone and you should have internet enabled on your phone. Then only UPI works. But there is many people in this country who do not have smartphone, who do not have internet on their phones. So what is the kind of payment system that they will use, right, to make efficient payments? People like me and you, we have smartphones, etc. We make, you scan a QR code and make payments, etc. But there are many people in this country who cannot do that. So what kind of payment instrument can you offer to these sort of people in this country? So CBDC is one kind of a payment system which will be able to come out with a lot of innovative use cases and bring this unbanked or the unbanked people in this country into the payment system. That is another objective of launching CBDC. So let's move forward. So this is some statistics about cryptocurrencies. So today the major interest, if you do a Google search, at one point of time the most search entity on Google was Bitcoin, but today the focus has changed to central bank digital currencies. So today the central banks across the world are trying to give a competition to these private cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, and they are launching CBDCs. So CBDC is the most searched item on Google today. And if you see cryptocurrencies, there are around 4,000 different cryptocurrencies. Even if you want, you can launch your own currency, right? So that is what it is. And the total value of this cryptocurrency is around 2,000 billion US dollars. Is it billion? Yeah. Right. Around 2,000 billion US dollar is the total value of cryptocurrencies. So much of trading is happening, buying and selling, right? And it's totally out of the control of central banks and regulators across the world, right? So this is what is happening. People have a lot of interest in these cryptocurrencies, but regulators, governments across the world are not very comfortable because these transactions are happening outside the banking system and there is no trail of who is paying to whom and for what reason. And neither the prices of these coins are regulated by the central banks of the respective countries. This is highly volatile. People have lost a lot of money when they have used these cryptocurrencies, when they have bought these cryptocurrencies and now they're trying to sell. The prices have reduced to a very great extent. So there is a lot of concerns among regulators across the world on these cryptocurrencies. So today what we are talking about is we have all used e-money, right, which is linked to fiat e-money, and now we are talking about digital money 2.0, right? So whatever UPI, NEFT, RTGS you are all using, this is all called as electronic money. Those are account based The moment you do an UPI payment, your account gets debited. They're linked to fiat currency. Okay, centralized database, permission based. Example, Alipay, PayPal, and you can add UPI, RTGS, NEFT, etc. So, but now we are moving to digital money 2.0, which is like CBDC, which is linked to fiat currency. Okay, or generated by demand and supply, like your bitcoins. Okay, they can be tokenized. So they are not called as accounts, they are called as tokens. Okay, they are based on technology like blockchain or distributed ledger technology. Okay, and the examples are CBDCs, Bitcoin, Ethereum, etc. So our digital rupee, which RBI has launched, is a digital money 2.0. Okay. Then this is little bit of difference between what is fiat money, what is cryptocurrencies. So I'm not. So here, as you can see, so fiat money, it is issued by central bank. Our 100 rupee note, 1000 rupee note, right? And in its various forms, coins, bank notes, they are backed by central bank credit. Okay, limited, unlimited supply. So is there any restriction on how much currency can be printed by RBI? Is it dependent on how much gold reserves, etc. you have? Right? Yes. But in the case of cryptocurrencies, if you see, these are mostly issued by private sector. Okay. So they are using technology like blockchain. They are the audience here is not technology. I don't know how many IT people are there. So our core banking system, all banks have moved to CBS. It is centralized database, right? And all channels, all branches and delivery channels are interacting with that central database. So moment you do a transaction, your account is getting debited in that central database, and somebody else's account getting credited. But here, these cryptocurrencies are using decentralized database. These are also called as distributed ledger technology. So the same copy of the ledger is present in multiple servers. That is the concept. For example, in CBS you have one central database or ledger in one server and another copy in a backup site, isn't it? In a disaster recovery site. Whereas in the case of these cryptocurrencies and CBDCs, the same copy of the ledger is present in multiple servers. Okay, that is and there is a limited supply. So the maximum number of bitcoins that has been generated till now is around 19 million, and the maximum that algorithm can allow is 20 million. So if that 20 million is achieved, then what next? Will new bitcoins be stopped in issuance, or you have to change the software and algorithm so that it can allow more bitcoins to get minted? So it is a software which is generating new coins. Okay, unlike a fiat money which is being printed by the central bank depending on some logic like how much reserves, the inflation factors, etc., etc. Okay, so this is what you need to understand. I am skipping this. So what is a central bank digital currency? So I have briefly discussed what is cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, I talked about a bit on CBDC, but these are some of the definitions of CBDCs. So various people talk about CBDC in various ways. The Reserve Bank of India Deputy Governor, he is saying that the CBDC is the legal tender which is issued by a central bank in a digital form. It is same as fiat currency. Fiat currency, that is your 500 rupee note, your 1000 rupee note, it is same as that, and is exchangeable one-to-one with the fiat currency. So if you have say 100 rupee note, you can go to a counter, right? You can exchange that, you can give that 100 rupee note, and in turn a digital rupee of 100 rupees digital will be sent to your mobile app, provided you have a CBDC app of some bank. So that is what it is. So these CBDCs in India, it is exactly similar as your bank notes. So you have 500 rupee notes, you have 2000 rupee notes, similar denomination, digital notes or digital currencies are being issued by RBI today, right? It is exactly similar to that of your physical currency, okay, but it is digitized and it is stored on a mobile app. That is the only difference, okay. Now this is, of course, I have discussed about so now there are various types of CBDCs: retail CBDC, wholesale CBDC, and cross-border CBDC. Now retail CBDC is the tokens which we people like me and you will be using for making payments, right, to one another, remittance, or it can be used for buying and paying at a merchant outlet. These are called as retail CBDC. But there is another form of CBDC which is called as wholesale CBDC or interbank CBDC. Today banks are doing government securities transaction between themselves. Banks are buying and selling government securities, isn't it? Or banks are buying and selling US dollars. So these are called as interbank financial market transactions. So these transactions today have a lot of issues in terms of there is a clearing and settlement process, right? There is a CCIL which comes, Clearing Corporation of India Limited. So whatever trading is happening between different banks, buying and selling of government securities. At the end of the day, there is a net settlement between the banks which takes place, isn't it? So it's a very elaborate process and mechanism which is working behind the scenes. But this wholesale CBDC, it has already been launched. Here what is happening is there is no interbank clearing and settlement. So two banks will have a wholesale CBDC account with RBI, and if one bank is trying to send money to another bank, so this bank's account will be debited, CBDC account will be debited in RBI, and the other bank's CBDC account will be credited. So it is a peer-to-peer kind of a payment system, right? So this has already been launched, okay, that is called as wholesale CBDC. Typically today when you do RTGS payment, what are the problems you face? Sometimes you might have a temporary shortfall, right? Then what do you do? To make an honor of a very big RTGS payment, some corporate customer has come to you, to your bank, and he wants to make a very high value RTGS payment. But let's say the bank does not have enough balance in its RTGS settlement account with RBI. Then what you do? You either try to check your current accounts with RBI, whether there is a surplus money in any of these accounts, or you borrow from other banks, or the RBI gives you some intraday liquidity support against government securities, isn't it? So there are multiple issues in the RTGS payment systems, okay? But now if there is an interbank payment, if there is an interbank CBDC kind of a payment, so already these two banks have some CBDC balances with RBI. So CBDC balance of bank A will be debited and CBDC balance of bank B will be credited. It's a one-to-one, peer-to-peer. So you don't have to go through that, whether your balance is there in the RBI books or whether so those are the issues which the liquidity issues which you have in RTGS can be taken care of in a wholesale CBDC kind of a payment system. So RBI has launched retail CBDC, wholesale CBDC, which is interbank payments, and cross-border CBDC. So RBI has still not launched cross-border CBDC, but it will be launching that as well. Today there are a lot of problems in cross-border payments. How does cross-border payments and remittances take place? Through SWIFT. Do you know how much time does it take for SWIFT payments to process? Is it real time, instant like your UPI? It takes 3 to 4 days for the payment to move from one country to another country, and it is quite expensive also. Okay, so now countries across the world, what they are saying, they are launching CBDC and they are trying to connect this CBDC of one country with another, which will lead to cross-border payments and remittances. That is the another model or form of CBDC. So RBI has still not launched this cross-border CBDC. Okay, so these are the pilot projects of CBDC in India. Wholesale CBDC launched. So banks have settled government security transactions in a wholesale pilot, right? So that has already happened. Interbank, government securities payment, that has already happened in wholesale CBDC, and retail CBDC has also been launched. So there are almost 60 countries, central banks across the world who are working on CBDC. 10 countries have launched CBDC. Bahamas was the first country, the small country which was the first country to launch CBDC in 2020. China and South Korea are among the 17 countries to have launched CBDC pilots. Okay, but now you can add even India, right? So this is what is the CBDC all about. Okay. Now let's look up from a perspective of Reserve Bank of India. How does the money supply in India take place? Okay. So currency with public is around 15%. And the remaining 85% is deposit with banks. Now let me ask you, in 2016 or 17, the government of India introduced demonetization. Yes. So when it introduced demonetization, this cash component which is 15% today, can anyone of you tell me that cash component increased or decreased out of the total money supply? No, in 2016 when demonetization was launched and all of you were depositing your cash, the old cash in bank, right? So this component decreased from 15% to 10%, right? And now we are back to square one. So whether demonetization achieved its goals and objectives, that is not the question to be debated. Ho gaya wo. Okay. So now 15% is cash and remaining 85% is assets with banks, isn't it? So now tell me where CBDC will come here. Now RBI has launched CBDC. Okay. So do you think that cash component, some of that cash component will be digitized and converted into CBDC? Yes? Do you agree? Yes. Fine. So by doing that, what will happen is the total cost of processing cash in India will go down, right? And that is one major advantage, because the cash to GDP ratio in India is very high and there is a huge cost of cash. So some of this physical currency will be converted into digital currency. So that 15%, some of that percentage will be converted into CBDC, right? That is what is the idea of RBI. Okay. So now, so how does the monetary system will look like with a retail CBDC and commercial banks? So we have a Reserve Bank of India, central bank, we have commercial bank, and there are retail CBDC, consumer bank deposits and cash. So cash today, the currency which you are carrying in your wallets, so it is a direct claim on RBI. The RBI governor's signature is there on the cash. So cash is a direct legal claim on RBI, central bank. So the central bank balance sheet will have coins and banknotes, that 15%. Then reserves. So some percentage of you have to put in reserves in bank, in RBI, CRR, SLR, right? So and there is securities, gold, foreign reserves. Now you will see there is one extra or another component which is getting added, that is called as CBDC. Maybe that coins and banknote, that portion will decrease and it will be for, the CBDC will act as a buffer, right? So that coins and banknotes from 15% it might go down to 10% and maybe 5% may be CBDC, right? So that's how the calculation is there, right? So any doubts till this point? Anybody, are you all okay with it? What is happening in CBDC, the concept? Okay. So there will be two types of CBDC. I have already talked. Wholesale CBDC, which is available only to banks and financial institutions, and there is a retail CBDC which is available to general economy. Now here, this retail CBDC again can be two categories: account-based retail CBDC and token-based retail CBDC. Okay, so there are two types of forms where a country can issue retail CBDC. Now, account-based retail CBDC, you all understand bank account, right? So some account will be created, some KYC verification will be done, and some CBDC tokens will be stored in your wallet. That is called as account-based retail CBDC. The another form of retail CBDC is called as token-based retail CBDC, where users can be anonymous. Anonymous means you will be known by your username and password, like in your Bitcoin. Okay. Now, I would like to ask you, as users of retail CBDC, you will be comfortable with account-based retail CBDC or token-based retail CBDC?
Account-based is the better because
It is better, but then today cash which you are carrying in your wallet, and when you are transacting cash, is it anonymous? Now, if you are replacing this physical cash to digital cash, you want an anonymity here? You want yourself to be anonymous or not? Do you want banks to know to whom you are paying and for what reason? Yeah? Both systems are useful. So, in the first category, it is KYC. Verification is compulsory. Okay, you will have some account ID, account number, right? Like you have in a bank, right? And to own a retail CBDC in the first category, the banks will do a KYC verification on you. So there is no anonymity here. So people may or may not use such kind of account-based retail CBDC because of reasons of they will lose their anonymity. Their transactions which they do, it will have a trail. People might catch you, why you have done this payment, etc. Whereas if it is a second category, token based, it is anonymous. There will be no KYC verification will be done on you, right? So you can load some CBDC tokens in your wallet, and the transactions which you do for payment or remittance, that those will not be tracked. Okay, so the Reserve Bank of India has launched the first category, account based, but there are many countries in the world which have gone for the second model, token based. Okay, now we have to see the traction, whether people are accepting account based retail CBDC or no, that we need to see. Okay, but there is a sense that people will not be comfortable, and the adoption of CBDC will be an issue if you keep it as a account based model where KYC is mandatory.
second one, nothing but is carrying a cash in the wallet.
Yes, you are replacing that cash in form of a digital wallet, right? So as cash transactions are anonymous, your CBDC token based transactions are also anonymous, right? So okay, so they are testing out with various models now. Okay, so that is what is happening today. And yes, so this is how the different architectures of CBDCs are. Okay, so this has been published by Bank for International Settlement. Have you heard of BIS? Bank for International Settlements? It is based out of Geneva, Switzerland. They make regulations, policies of banking across. It's a central bank of all central banks in the world. So the BIS has come out with such kind of an architecture: indirect, direct, and hybrid. And I have been told that Reserve Bank of India has implemented the first model, indirect CBDC, where there is central bank which is issuing these CBDC tokens to banks, and banks are in turn distributing these CBDC tokens to the ultimate users. A, B and C are the ultimate users. Okay, so here the banks are, so the CBDC here, it's a claim on the bank or the intermediary, whereas in the second model there is no intermediary like a bank. That means A, B and C, they have accounts or CBDC token accounts with the central bank or RBI. Right, so RBI is launching the CBDC, and people like me and you are downloading an app, CBDC app, which has been developed by the Reserve Bank of India. So this model is also being followed by many countries. But RBI has not gone for this model. And the third model is called as hybrid, where there are intermediaries like banks who comes in picture in between, but ABC's account still is with the central bank, and a copy of these balances are also with the banks who are called as payment service provider. Did you understand these three models? So RBI has gone in for the first model because they want to take along the banks also in this project. So this is what this looks like, and there are certain things like what are the benefits, etc., for banks in CBDC. Now here if you see the number 3 and 4th point, so this does not form e-rupee held by banks on behalf of retail customers will be in the custodial capacity by the banks and shall not form part of the bank's balance sheet. Very important. Number 3, the CBDC tokens which banks are issuing to your customers, it is not part of the bank's balance sheet. And this e-rupee, number 4, e-rupee held by the banks will not form for computation of CRR SLR and will neither be eligible for reckoning towards CRR balance. So this CBDC tokens which will be issued by RBI to banks and banks to the ultimate users, so these will not be in the CRR and SLR reserves which the banks have to maintain with RBI. Okay, so this is how this is outside the reserves which banks have to maintain with the Reserve Bank of India. Okay, so this is another thing which you have to understand. And this is how the CBDC tokens look like. I do not know how many of you have used CBDC. Anybody in this class? Have you got CBDC tokens in your wallet? Because I think in the pilot project, State Bank of India and I have the banks, some 3-4 banks in India have launched CBDC. Okay, this is how the tokens look like. This is not a physical, this is not physical cash. On your mobile app, CBDC app, you can see this digital cash in the different denominations. These are the denominations where this cash is being offered. 50 paise, e-rupee, 1 rupee, 2 rupees, 5 rupees. These are the different. These are the colors which has been used. If someone of you have used the CBDC wallets, this e-rupee has these different denominations. Okay, so this is how the Reserve Bank of India has launched the CBDC.
Sir, you said that this will not come for CRR SLR, but how it is written? Because time deposit and deposit first only, it will come to CRR. But in the platform it will be maintained.
No, cash.
Only cash only.
The cash which RBI prints and gives to the banks. So this is the same as cash. Yeah. So it does not come into that computation of CRR, SLR or the demand deposits of banks. Okay. Right. So this, if I could get the screenshot of how this. So today there are 3 use cases which RBI has launched. The first one is you can load CBDC tokens in a wallet, okay, through UPI. So through UPI means suppose your account through UPI you can debit your bank account and you can load CBDC tokens in your CBDC wallet. This is what you can do. So this is one way of how you can get CBDC tokens in your wallet. You can debit your bank account and convert it into CBDC tokens. Or you can, through UPI, you can debit some other bank account and you can get the CBDC tokens of another bank. Okay, this is one way of getting CBDC currently in your CBDC wallet account, right? Going forward, RBI will also launch another form of loading CBDC tokens in a wallet where they will open some counters in banks where you can exchange your physical notes. In turn, they will load CBDC tokens in your wallet. But that is still not launched. Today, if you want to get CBDC tokens in your wallet, you have to debit your bank account and load money like how you were doing in Paytm. Remember? During demonetization, you are debiting your bank account and you are creating a Paytm wallet account. Same thing. Second is remittance or transfer. So you want to buy you want to buy some food on Swiggy, okay, and you can pay through CBDC tokens. So this is another use case which RBI has launched. And the third one is the CBDC tokens in your wallet. You can convert it into money in your bank account. That means suppose if you have 100 CBDC tokens in your wallet, you don't want to use CBDC tokens further, so you can convert that into money in your bank account. So you can transfer. Suppose this example is showing about IDFC First Bank. So this customer had some, how much, 16? 3 notes of 2 rupees and 2 notes of 5 rupees. Okay, he had around 16 e-rupee that he has converted into money in bank account. So he has converted that money into or he has pushed that CBDC token amount, he has converted that into actual rupee and he has credited his bank account in IDFC. So all this is possible. These 3 things are possible. You can withdraw, you can transfer, you can deposit back. You can redeem those CBDC tokens back into your actual money in a bank account.
So what is the use of this denomination then?
Sorry, what is the use of this?
Denominations, which 2 rupees, 5 rupees, what is the use then?
So you have to pay, no? Suppose you go to a grocery, you buy rice, okay, you pay through CBDC. You transfer 16 CBDC, huh?
What is in the account? What you are making the form?
No, today what you are doing, you are paying through UPI.
Yes, we are paying through it.
So you from Bank X UPI account, you are paying to Bank Y UPI account. Phone Pay, Google Pay, whatever.
But why this is there? What is the advantage?
So advantage of this is many people in this country do not have bank account. For making UPI payment, a bank account is mandatory. But in case of a digital rupee, e-rupee, bank account is not mandatory. That is the advantage.
Through internet only I ask you.
Now it is through internet, but they are also experimenting with offline CBDC where there is no internet required. So that they are testing out. Okay, they will have some wallet in the mobile. It will have some tokens so that you can transfer. And later, after some time, when the internet is on or something, you can update your ledger. Otherwise, it is happening in a remote basis. So your CBDC token wallet is debited and the merchant CBDC wallet is credited. That means the mobile has the wallet account. Today you are transferring money through UPI, but your account is in the bank server, no? So what I am saying, CBDC account is in your mobile phone. It is not in a server. Not in a bank, yes. That is called offline CBDC. Right, where you don't require an internet, you don't require a smartphone. They are testing out the CBDC wallet applications on future phones, those Java phones, button wala. On those also they are testing out CBDC. Right? Sir, have I explained? Okay. Next is, yes, so these are some I have already spoken. Pilot, digital rupee, I've already spoken of all this. So this was launched. The concept note, RBI came with a concept on 2022. November 1, 2022, it launched wholesale CBDC. Okay. And on December 1, 2022, Reserve Bank of India launched retail CBDC. And I hope I have explained you what the difference between wholesale and retail CBDC. Wholesale is interbank and retail is people like me and you who are making payment to each other or making payment to a merchant, etc. Okay. So these are some of the banks who have participated in the first retail project. State Bank of India, ICICI Bank, Yes Bank, IDFC. Subsequently, 4 more banks have participated in the retail pilot. Bank of Baroda, Union Bank, HDFC, Kotak. Okay. Right. So we have explained. So currently P2P, person to person, person to merchant, these kind of payments are happening through CBDC. Right. Last point, very important. Like cash, the CBDC will not earn any interest. and can be converted to other forms of money like deposit with banks. So whatever CBDC tokens you carry, it will not generate any interest.
Like a cash.
Like cash. No, in some countries they give interest. So what is the problem if you give interest on CBDC wallets? People will remove money from bank accounts and move them to CBDC. So the credit, the loan which the banking system can give will become, unless you have deposits, you cannot give loan. So banks will find very difficult to give loans because all the deposits from the banks will move to this wallet accounts. If you give interest on CBDC wallet accounts, that is one major problem. So RBI has taken a call, no interest will be given to this CBDC wallet accounts. Okay, and this is more than 50,000 customers have been onboarded for CBDC, and 10,000 small and big merchants have been onboarded. Reliance Retail, you see many of the Reliance Retail outlets, you will see that you can pay through CBDC. They have already launched. Okay, they have partnered with ICICI Bank, Kotak and other companies. Right? So this is about the initiatives which RBI has. So yeah, now some questions. Digital rupee and UPI. So what is the difference? So how is UPI different than that of CBDC? One is UPI, that means it's a bank account. The moment you're doing a payment, your bank account is getting debited or credited. CBDC, what is happening? Your mobile wallet account is getting debited or crediting on other side, right? That is one. Other thing?
UPI has no denomination. There is denomination in
UPI has no, no denomination, right? So it is whatever bank account balance you have, you debit. In this case, there is denomination. No, one major thing is, in UPI, there is a clearing and settlement between the banks. Who does the clearing and settlement for UPI? NPCI? In CBDC, there is no concept of clearing and settlement. Today, what is happening? Your bank ledger and there is another bank ledger. When there is an UPI payment, some account in this ledger is getting debited, some account in this ledger is getting credited, and NPCI is sitting in between, is doing the interbank clearing and settlement. In CBDC, what is happening? There is only one ledger. There is only one ledger. You can be a HDFC wallet holder, you can be an ICICI wallet holder. Your both wallet accounts are in the same ledger. So when there is a transfer between two accounts, it is debiting one account and crediting one account. Are you getting the difference?
Yes. But no reconciliation.
No reconciliation. P2P, peer to peer. My account is in that same ledger, your account is in the same ledger. I have got CBDC tokens from ICICI, you have got CBDC token from SBI. Our both accounts are in the same ledger. And when there is a fund transfer, my account is getting debited, your account is getting credited. CBDC account, CBDC account, there is no interbank clearing and settlement or reconciliation. Disputes. That we need to see how it can be resolved. But disputes, so who will handle disputes? Right. But disputes may be reduced in this case, unlike in UPI, where there are multiple hops. ये बैंक का CBS, ये बैंक का UPI, CBS and UPI connection. कभी-कभी CBS UPI बात नहीं करता है, ठीक है? Then from UPI of bank, CBS of bank A to UPI of bank A, UPI of bank A to NPCI, NPCI to UPI server application of bank B and UPI application connected to CBS of bank B. कितने लोग हैं इसके बीच में? फिर आपका बैंक अकाउंट है, पर उसमें गूगल पे भी आ गया, तो और एक बढ़ गया. So many times you will see your UPI does not work, पेमेंट जाता नहीं है. हाँ, whatever. So हाँ, so I'm saying CBDC में इतना सारा हॉप्स नहीं होगा, ट्रांजैक्शन यहाँ से वहाँ से वहाँ से यहाँ, वैसा नहीं है. एक ही लेजर में डेबिट हो गया, क्रेडिट हो गया, फिनिश. लिमिट अभी दे हैव नॉट डिसाइडेड व्हाट इज द लिमिट ऑफ ना, जैसे यूपीआई में आई थिंक 5 lakhs नो पर ट्रांजैक्शन, 5 lakhs per day. So we do not know what, they have not set any limit yet. Okay, have you understood difference UPI?
Can one issue or give credit to another person in the form of CBDC.
Loan you're saying? Yes, it can be. So government might give subsidy payments on CBDC wallets. Okay, in the future it can be used for loans, yes. Your loans can be disbursed on your...
No, one person can
Give to another person.
give to another as a credit
Long credit.
in the form of CBDC.
हो सकता है.
So bank will say,
No.
It is possible.
No.
It may be possible. We don't know. Still now those use cases...
Cannot learn because he has to take permission from the RBI.
No, today P2P lending is happening. Peer-to-peer lending is happening. P2P lending is happening. No, I can lend to you today. I can lend to you. RBI has already given a license to around 15 NBFCs in India for which are operating P2P lending platforms. You know what is P2P lending?
What license, no?
They have got license. They have got license.
That's what I think.
Right. And investors come on that platform and then lend. It's a digital lending platform. But that platform company has got a license from RBI. You're right. But today we never know. Now it is just remittances, payments, etc. But future may even loan can be implemented through CBDC. We don't know how it will be happening, but future will say how loans can be distributed on CBDC wallets.
What is the rate of interest?
Rate of interest, yeah, etc. So this is basically CBDC. One of the major objective of launching CBDC is financial inclusion. Financial inclusion is a major objective because in spite of banks being there for 100 odd years, there is a huge underbanked, unbanked population in this country. MSMEs don't get loans from banks. You give loans to MSMEs? Yes. Typically because you have those priority sector lending targets. Otherwise you don't want to lend to MSMEs, right? Because these are all startups, new companies, balance sheet is weak, right? You only want to give loans to good customers, right? Banks. And typically these MSMEs goes to money lenders and then they take loans at very high interest rate. Many of them cannot repay, they commit suicide, etc., etc. So in spite of banks being there for last 100 years, there is a huge deprived population in this country who are not getting finance from formal institutions. So CBDC is one such initiative which has been taken by RBI. So credit, somebody was saying credit. So credit can also, till now it is not launched, but RBI is thinking how credit can be given through CBDC. That can be another use case. Okay, government benefit transfer. Today, of course, through Aadhaar-based systems, all your DBT transfers are pushed into bank account by government. Tomorrow, this CBDC can also be used to give government benefits, subsidies, and scholarships, pensions, right, to CBDC wallet accounts. There is no intermediary. The government will directly load money into your wallet that you can use for purchases, remittances, etc. So these are some of the other use cases which will be implemented on CBDC, right? So do we need CBDC in India?
Yes, required.
India's high currency to GDP ratio, 12%, 13%. So CBDC is a fit case. If you want to reduce cash, so this CBDC is one such mechanism. Okay. So cost of printing, etc. is a huge cost. So if this cash, physical cash can be converted into CBDC, so this can be a very good cost saving proposition for the economy. Okay. Then right, but then there are same time there is a lot of issues, also challenges. So UPI, not many people are comfortable because of multiple reasons. So UPI, I think, has been launched on non-smartphone, non-internet, etc. Right? What is that called? UPI 123 Pay. Right? NPCI has launched, but still we do not know what is the traction. So those kind of payments which can move to CBDC. So if it is through smartphone and internet, people will not use. So the CBDC which needs to be launched should be offline in nature. It can be the old phones, Java phones should be used, right, for making payments. So if that is happening, then people will use CBDC. But if you say that CBDC सिर्फ आपके ऐप में ही जाएगा, इंटरनेट लगेगा, कितने लोग हैं देश में जिसके पास इंटरनेट है, स्मार्टफोन है? आ गया. But then in remote areas, internet is not stable. You don't get internet connection. So अगर CBDC को सक्सेसफुल होना है इंडिया में, you need to have good models beyond your smartphone and internet. Okay, so otherwise CBDC will be a failure, right? Right. So we have seen all that. Yeah. So I mean, these are some of the. I'll stop now. So that is the Indian story. But if you want to know about global, this is I have one slide. These are the countries where CBDC has already been launched. Bahamas, then some Eastern Caribbean countries, Nigeria, etc. Okay, China and Europe, they have launched pilot CBDC projects, right? So this is how the comparison of CBDC is happening across various parameters. So if you see Sand Dollar, Bahamas, they have launched retail as well as wholesale CBDC. I have already explained. Their CBDC is based on token based. Token based means no KYC. There are two types of CBDC, account based and token based. Token based means no KYC. Nobody knows who are you. You are known by a user ID. Right? Whereas, so that is the model they have adopted. It is direct CBDC. Architecture, that means the central bank is directly distributing CBDC to Aam Janta. There is no bank or intermediary in between. In the case of Bahamas. And then the technology that they have used is blockchain, which is called a distributed ledger technology, right? So that is how, and then the objectives why they have launched, etc. So this slide shows the different initiatives of different countries, how they have moved to CBDC, what stage they are. Somebody have launched, some of them are in a pilot stage, some are doing research, what are the models they are adopting, what is the architecture they are using, right? What technology they are using, etc., etc. Okay, so I think yeah, I'll stop at this. I'll like to take some questions.
Whether there is any chance of hacking the phone and then give your wallet?
हो सकता है, this is possible. So these are all digital projects. So there may be chances of somebody hacking your wallet account and misusing it. It's possible. Risk is limited. Why risk is limited? हाँ, वैलेट का जो रेस्ट्रिक्शन होगा, जैसे आपका वो पेटीएम वैलेट में क्या था, 10,000 मैक्सिमम बैलेंस. सो आरबीआई माइट सेट सम अपर लिमिट. अपर लिमिट, हाँ, अपर लिमिट किया तो देन यू विल लूज टू द एक्सटेंट ऑफ 10,000, बस उतना ही.
Supposed to be I have deposited huge amount.
हाँ,
1 crore.
and you lose that. उतना अलाउ नहीं करेगा आरबीआई. विल हैव टू सी, दिस आर फॉर स्मॉल वैल्यू पेमेंट्स. ओके, इट इज लाइक योर पेटीएम वैलेट, उसमें कितना मैक्सिमम 10,000 you can deposit.
So with this digital currency, do we get any interest on it or it won't be?
I told you, no interest. अगर इंटरेस्ट करोगे तो बैंक का डिपॉजिट्स कम हो जाएंगे, सब सीबीडीसी में चले जाएंगे, फिर बैंक लोन कहाँ से देगा?
अगर केवाईसी कंपल्शन नहीं रहेगा सीबीडीसी में, तो गवर्नमेंट प्रॉपर आइडेंटिफाई करके फंड कैसा ट्रांसफर करेगा सीबीडीसी में?
नहीं, आपका यूजर आईडी तो है ना. हाँ, सो
रॉन्ग आदमी को बेनिफिशियरी समझ के सब्सिडी कैसे मिलेगी?
नहीं, रॉन्ग आदमी, हाँ, सो केवाईसी वेरिफिकेशन, यू आर राइट, दैट मे बी वन इशू, बड़ा इशू होगा. सो केवाईसी वेरिफिकेशन होना चाहिए.
अदरवाइज आपका जो भी ट्राइबल एरिया है वहाँ तक प्रॉपर बेसिक गवर्नमेंट चाहे कि प्रॉपर आपके तक पैसा पहुंचे.
राइट, पॉइंट नोट, यस, एग्रीड. सो अगर गवर्नमेंट बेनिफिट ट्रांसफर करना है तो केवाईसी वेरिफिकेशन इज मैंडेटरी. ओके, थैंक यू सो मच. या